What's up, everyone? I'm Joe Pomp, and this is the Joe Pomp Show. Today we're going to be talking about Pat McAfee. The former NFL punter turned sports media star announced yesterday he's leaving behind his $120 million deal with FanDuel to go to ESPN. Now, we know some of the details. Andrew Marchand of the New York Post says that it's an 8-figure deal annually. He is going to be maintaining complete creative control of the show. His co-host will be joining him. The deal starts in the fall of 2023. The show will air simultaneously on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and ESPN's YouTube channel, and it will follow Get Up and First Take on the ESPN lineup each morning. Pat even said, "We ain't changing a damn thing," during his announcement video yesterday. But why would Pat McAfee do this? I mean, on the surface, he's getting paid $30 million annually by FanDuel alone. That doesn't even count the other sponsorship deals that he has. McAfee also owns 100% of the company, meaning that he decides what he wants to talk about, when he wants to talk about it, and how he wants to talk about it. But like most things, the devil is in the details. So let me run through you exactly what's happening with this deal. Now, for anyone that has followed Pat McAfee's career, you know that he likes to do things a little bit differently. In high school, for example, Pat McAfee was committed to Kent State University, and his parents didn't want to pay $1,500 for him to fly to South Florida to do a kicking competition. So what does Pat do? He borrows $100 from a friend and enters an underground poker tournament in a Pittsburgh restaurant against grown men. And what happens? He wins the tournament. He gets $1,500. He flies to South Florida. He ends up making a bunch of field goals in a row at the tournament from 25 yards all the way up to 65 yards, doesn't miss a single one, gets a call from West Virginia University in the morning with a scholarship offer. He recommits to West Virginia and goes there. Now, this wasn't just some gimmick or luck. Pat was legitimately a good football player. He graduated as West Virginia's all-time leader in PATs and career points with 384. The Indianapolis Colts then selected him in the 7th round of the 2009 NFL Draft, and he finished his career with tons of awards and accolades. Everything from an All-American award in college to All-Rookie Team in the NFL. He was a 2-time NFL Pro Bowler, and he was even named First-Team All-Pro in 2014. That means he was the best punter in the NFL that year. But then McAfee shocked the world in 2017, announcing his decision to retire from the NFL at the age of 29 and leave a $6 million NFL contract behind to become a full-time content creator for Barstool Sports. One Twitter user wrote at the time, "Pat McAfee with the biggest L of 2017, leaving behind the NFL, getting paid $2.5 million a year to punt, to be a writer at Barstool Sports. I repeat, L." And it wasn't just fans that were perplexed at Pat McAfee's decision either. ESPN's host Mike Wilbon famously ridiculed McAfee for leaving a $6 million NFL contract behind. "Make them tear the uniform off you," Wilbon said on ESPN's show Pardon the Interruption. "Look, someone needs to stage an intervention. People that know this guy get to him now. Make him put his helmet back on and get to camp." But Pat McAfee was confident in his decision. He already had 700,000 followers on social media, and he was selling merchandise online. He had just completed a stand-up comedy tour across several states in the United States, and he was even hosting his own radio show. Although, to be fair, things didn't quite go as planned. McAfee worked at Barstool Sports for just 2 years before leaving on a bad note. He said he was disrespected by the business people in the building, and that's when he officially started the Pat McAfee Show on YouTube in 2019. And since then, Pat McAfee has become one of the biggest names in sports. He now has nearly 5 million followers on social media and another 2.2 million subscribers on YouTube. His daily show averages 316,000 viewers on YouTube, and the Aaron Rodgers Jets announcement on his show drew nearly 500,000 concurrent viewers. Now, this level of attention has brought tremendous financial success, too. McAfee has worked with plenty of partners over the last few years, including people like Google, SeatGeek, Cash App, Manscaped, Roman, and 5 Hour Energy. And McAfee even donated $6 million immediately to various causes when he signed his 4-year, $120 million deal with FanDuel in 2021. But this is where ESPN comes in. Pat and his wife Samantha recently had their first child, and Pat has frequently mentioned his desire to scale back his workload and spend more time at home. This is because Pat still handles a lot of things that on-air network talent wouldn't typically have to deal with. For example, when I went on Pat McAfee's show last year, he literally direct messaged me on Twitter himself to book me as a guest, and we even went back and forth for several minutes at a time talking about topics we could discuss. Now, of course, Pat has hired some great people to help out with everything from ad sales, operation, production, and everything else. But when you're the sole owner of a business, you never really have an off day. And some people are already complaining about the compensation too, saying why would he leave behind a $30 million annual deal with FanDuel to make something like Stephen A money, which is like $12 to $15 million at ESPN. But the truth is, a $30 million annual revenue deal with FanDuel is just that. It's just revenue. Pat McAfee owns this business, and he still has a bunch of expenses, everything from employee salaries, production costs, office space, travel expenses, talent fees, and a bunch of other multi-million-dollar line item expenses for the show. And this deal seems to offer Pat the best of both worlds, in my opinion. In addition to being paid a rumored $15 million annual salary from ESPN, they're going to take over a bunch of the operational duties of the show from Pat himself. And more importantly, they're going to drastically expand Pat's audience. The Pat McAfee Show will immediately be placed in 74 million households throughout the country. It will be broadcasted at bars, restaurants, and gyms nationwide. And his social media presence should 10x based on the reach of ESPN's 100 million social media followers alone. So I wouldn't criticize this deal too much, because whether McAfee stays at ESPN for 2 years or 20 years, it doesn't really matter. He's going to leave with a much bigger audience and 100% ownership of his company, because this is just a licensing deal. And when you add in the fact that he's going to be able to spend much more time at home with his family, it seems like a pretty good deal to me.